Frequency Friday, 3 in a row. Let's see if we can keep the momentum going. Either way, we got a lot to talk about. Well, here's the deal. I don't love these headphones. These are the brand new Meze Poets. I don't love these headphones, but we need to talk about these. So, Frequency Friday. Let's go. All right, guys, welcome back. If you consider yourself an audiophile or a music enthusiast, welcome home. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you know when the next video drops. So, yesterday morning, which was Monday, I got to work listening to the Meze Poets. I pulled my May DAC off the shelf, and I set up this little listening station on my desk in the sound shed. Now, I would have loved to have used my Innuos Zenith for all of these evaluations, but I could not make that happen because my Ethernet is 28 feet away over there, and I don't have long enough cables to reach, so just for the sake of transparency, I did use my MacBook feeding into my May DAC while listening to the poems and all of these different headphones. As for headphone make-it-happeners, I grabbed this fancy pants Voyager from Burson Audio that they sent to me a while back, but I haven't had a lot of time with this yet. As a contender to the Voyager, I also use the, if you can see it, probably not, it doesn't matter. I also use the more affordable Gemini from Sparkos Labs. Now, the Voyager is completely solid state, while the Gemini uses a single tube that can be rolled with different options. I decided to throw in my Telefunken 6922 in there because, well, if you had a Telefunken 6922, you would too. That's why. I could make this a really boring review by mentioning the build quality and spending a few minutes praising Meze for only making comfortable headphones, or I could just keep this simple, which is what I'm going to be doing today. The Poet is gorgeous, and for $2,000, it needs to be. The headphone feels lovely on my noggin, which is above average in size, and the clamping force, or the lack thereof, makes it snug enough to wear for hours and hours, which again is what I did yesterday. Many hours of listening and comparing the Poets to, a plethora of different headphones. All right, let me show you here. Oh, SD card. Whoa, that was a mess. All right. The headphones do come with this nice case, hard shell case, padded, and set that to the side. Also comes with this synthetic leather pouch, which is neat, and you can put your cables in here. Comes with cables, fancy pants cables, and braided premium cables, and it has a 6.3 millimeter jack for your connection into your headphone make-it-happener. All right, so that's all neat and that's all nice, but how the heck do these things actually sound? So I gotta say, these were a tough nut to crack for me. Now, initially, I wasn't thrilled at all with what I was hearing out of these headphones, especially when I put them up against, hold on, these, which are the Empyrean 2s, which still float my audiophile boat, but even more so when I compared them to, hold on, these, which I'm going to be reviewing here shortly. These are the 105 AERs, which only cost $400. I preferred what I was hearing from these out of the Poets. And so $2,000, $400, and I preferred these. And so, it's a bit of a conundrum. But before you think that I'm going to just dog the heck out of these things, which, by the way, I would have no problem doing if they deserved it, I'm not. And no, it's not because Meze is paying me. Yes, this is your official ethics statement. Meze sent me these headphones to review. They aren't paying me to say anything and haven't had any influence on my words or opinion. There have been no conversations about whether I get to keep these, and all of my thoughts and opinions are my own. So let's back up for just a second. I am an audiophile that loves air. I love extension, and I love hearing details in the music across the board. But at the same time, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, I also appreciate when a headphone or speaker can do all of this without deviating too far from a linear presentation. Of course, with headphones, which are a different animal than speakers, linear is a little trickier to tackle because of ear gain, ear shapes, and so much more that we won't get into today. But getting to the point, I personally want to hear an even response from tip to tail without any particular part of the bandwidth being tugged on or hyped up. So, when it comes to Poet, the response that I hear is indeed tugged on in the upper mid-range and, to a degree, hyped up in the top octave, which, for the record, isn't something that I'm going to be complaining about today. So the tug, where is it and why should you care? Well, as I did my comparisons at this listening station for many, many hours, trying both of these headphone make it happeners and bouncing between the Poets, the Empyrean 2s, the 105s, and the Project Omegas, these are frickin' amazing, holy cow, it occurred to me that almost all female vocals and the top end of most male vocals sound slightly truncated with the Poet. What does that mean? Well, with the human voice, both male and female singers have the body of their voice lower tones that usually sit between, let's just say, 100 to 300 hertz for dudes and 200 to 500 hertz for the ladies. Now, in this part of the vocal range, I have no issues with the Poet at all. In fact, it sounds actually spot on. It sounds fantastic. However, above the body of the human voice, we have the presence or clarity of the voice. A lot of little intricate details and mouth sounds sit in this particular region. For male vocals, this range might sit between 300 hertz all the way up to 3 kilohertz, and for females, 500 hertz all the way up to 4 kilohertz. Now, because I don't have any way to measure any headphones, I can't tell you exactly where the Poet is tugging on this part of the bandwidth, but I can tell you that it is, and it's very noticeable. From getting lost in random performances of Steven Wilson Jr. on YouTube to firing up my Audiophile playlist on Qobuz, I kept noticing a softness and forgiveness in the Poet's top end extension. So when I say that, I mean the top end of upper mid-range, not treble, which we're going to be talking about pretty soon. This warmer approach to the vocals sounded relaxing and does indeed put me at ease, which might be good for many, many, many folks out there. But the polar opposite is a headphone that I really enjoy, which is the Empyrean 2s, which, my goodness, these are a roller coaster ride with no seatbelts or safety bars. If the recording is bright, these things will shove that brightness right down your throat and give you a wedgie while they're at it. And yet, they're fun, which is one of the things that I love about these. The 105s, the 105s, which follow suit to an extent, are still fun for the same reasons, but don't throw you off a cliff and laugh at you. In other words, they're just polite enough to get by and a little less excited on top than the Empyrean 2s. Now, these guys, which are the Omegas, which are $1,000, are probably, I think, the most balanced sounding out of all of these headphones. And to my ears, they do let you get on the roller coaster ride, but they also have straps before you get in and they hit the throttle. These give you the best of all worlds, especially in vocals. They sound the most accurate to me. Or a better way to put it is, as a speaker guy, these actually sound like my favorite speakers that I've been listening to recently, which are very linear with just a dash of extra air on the top octave. So, with that tug that's somewhere in the presence of the human voice, the Poets are indeed soft sounding. But what about the air that I was mentioning earlier in the true top end? Now, this one is also a head scratcher for me, but let's start with me saying this. I don't know if I want to die on this hill. I have taken the time to look at some of the graphs that are popping up about the Poets and measurements, and it is very hard for me to say, based on those graphs, if what I am about to say can be backed up by anything that is going to be objective. So I'm a little bit nervous to lean in this direction, but either way, I'm going to call it like it is. I like the top end of the Poet, and I didn't find anything about these headphones to sound offensive or forward. I do, however, sense a bit of air or extension that I personally appreciate, and to my ears, it seems to sound open enough to get by. So some folks are saying this is just a warm headphone, and I don't agree. I think that Valor pretty much nailed it when he said warm and bright. Now, his definition of bright might be a bit different, than mine. I would say warm with a dash of air is probably my final take here. I don't find these to be bright at all. So, taking things like cymbal hits, the top end of strings, the top end of brass, and anything else that dances in true treble territory, it sounds nice on the Poet. Last, the bass response on the Poets is fantastic. It sounds punchy, quick, and very clean. Perhaps even more linear or true to the recording than even the Empyrean 2's bass response. The Poets, for me, nail what I would call tastefully done bass without any exaggeration at all. The Empyrean's a little exaggerated, but fun. Amplification did make a profound difference while I was listening, and while the Poet is smaller and perhaps less dorky looking for on-the-go listeners, I don't think you'll be as happy with what your phone can do versus, your very own headphone make-it-happeners, which these made a profound difference with these. And I guess you could take these with you with wherever you go, and nobody's going to look at you in a weird way. I think you should do that and then post it on YouTube. The comment section is going to be great. Either way, for pairing, I absolutely, without second-guessing myself, preferred the more affordable Gemini over the fancy pants Burson with the Poets. It's not even close. And yes, the Voyager has a million more options. It does balanced doodads and crossfeed and subwoofers and yada, yada, yada. But man, I am going to tell you right now, and I'm not afraid to say this, the Gemini smacked the Voyager around when it came to bass response and dynamics. And folks, you know me, I don't say nonsense like this unless it's both true and it's very obvious. So, just to triple check, I asked Sarah, my wife, to sit down and listen without me saying a word. I didn't say anything, I just wanted her to listen. She listened to both the Voyager and the Gemini with the Poets, and within 5 seconds, she said, whatever this thingy is, and she was pointing at the Gemini, it sounds a lot fuller and bigger. So yeah, for us audio geeks, we already know there is only one way to get that kind of response, and look, I always celebrate it when my wife is actually right about something. Oh, that's going to go on YouTube. I am a stupid, stupid man. Either way, guys, being serious with Poet, for those who want this, sound signature that they offer, I think that the Gemini is a no-brainer. If you're looking at a headphone make-it-happener and you're trying to decide, well, I trust Ron and he's listening to this, fancy pants $4,700, really expensive Voyager, or the much lesser expensive, I think $1,000 Gemini. Which one should you get if you are hell-bent on getting the Poets? The Gemini smokes it. And I'm not going to apologize. It smokes it. It's not even close. And here's the deal. Regardless of all of our differences, we're talking about tubes. We got tubes. And we all agree that tubes are superior. Tubes are the best, right, guys? Guys, right? Frequency Friday. That's it, folks. There is no need to be long-winded here. The Poets are not my ideal headphone, and that is totally okay. They are soft in the upper mid-range. And if you want to hear all of the details in that region, you might also find these to be a bit lacking. On the other hand, if you enjoy a laid-back vocal presentation with a dash of air beyond the fundamentals, the Meze Poet is a fine choice. And with that, I'll see you Meze loving audiophiles in the next video.